Hello, my name is Frederick Valles. I'm one of the founders of Optmyzr. I want to thank you for joining us today to take a look at Optmyzr, and specifically an overview of it, mostly meant for team managers. So a few items of housekeeping before we jump into the Optmyzr screens, but I'll be recording this, so this presentation will be shared with everyone who is registered and also everyone on the call today. This is a call for you, so if you have any questions, I do invite you to ask those in the questions panel, or you can also use the chat panel if that's your preference. And then if there's something that you think would be better addressed one-on-one, we can also do a one-on-one follow-up. Easiest way to request that is always just email our support team at optmyzr.com. We can schedule a follow-up to this, or we can also do a one-on-one at any point when you think your team is ready for a new training. Then if you want to meet us in person, I myself will be in Seattle in June for SMX Advanced, so that's coming up in about a month from now. And you can also read my blog on Search Engine Land. So that's a little bit of housekeeping. And then as far as the agenda, so because this is a session for team managers, I'm going to make the assumption that not everybody's been very hands-on with the Optmyzr tool. So I'm going to point out some of the highlights of the tool and its capabilities. And then I'll also point out some of the team features kind of along the way. So that's the plan for today. Again, if anyone has any questions, there is the questions panel. That's the best place to go and ask those. And with that, I will jump into the Optmyzr interface. Okay, so Optmyzr is a PPC management tool. It's really built for agencies predominantly and large companies, mid-sized companies, but mostly those that have multiple people working specifically on PPC. And what we try to do is make your life a lot easier by speeding up the tasks that you commonly do and by taking some industry best practices and making those much easier to implement. Now, we connect into AdWords ads, we connect into Bing ads, Facebook ads, Google Analytics, Google Merchant Center, and Google Spreadsheets. And on this dashboard, we bring together a variety of those accounts so that you can have one login and see all of the data in one place. Now, what's interesting for teams here is that as each team member has their own login, they can all have their own default view of this dashboard. So if they click this little link up here, save this as my default view, whatever custom columns the team is looking at will be enabled here. And if you're on one of the pro plans, you can also put in notes and tags. And so these notes can be particularly helpful because everybody's logging into the same place. And even though you may see different accounts and different columns based on your personal favorites, the notes, these are not private notes. These are notes that the whole team can see. So if somebody just had a conversation with a client and they changed their mind on CPA target, for example, well, this is a great place where you can put that. What is the CPA target that the client is trying to hit, or what are the what's the monthly budget that the client just told us they want to do. And by the way, we also have some cool columns here for monthly budget where you can set in the target, and then we can show you how far along to that target you are at this point in time. So that's the MCC dashboard. Let me jump into one of the accounts here, and then I'll show you some of the individual capabilities that you can do to make these accounts better. Okay, so here we have a demo account that's selling t-shirts. And so I really want to point out 4 of the key areas of Optmyzr here so that you know its capabilities and what your team will be able to do with it. So first of all, we have data insights, and data insights are about helping you understand something that is happening in the account. So rather than looking at a big table of data, we show you visualizations that make it easier to understand. Very simple example here. We could look at why have conversions in this account changed one period versus another period, and then it connects the dots. So it says conversions can only happen if you have clicks and conversion rate, and here the drop in conversions happens to be mostly related to conversion rate. And if you wanted to know why the clicks were slightly down, you can see it's mostly because the impressions were down, even though the CTR was up. So you can start to connect the dots this way. So that's just one quick example of a data insight. A OneClick Optimization takes this data insight one step further and will also allow you to make changes based on an industry best practice. So for example, for A/B testing for ads, we will point out which ads are winners and losers inside of the ad group, and then make it very easy with a single click to pause all of the underperforming ads. Now, your team probably has different strategies based on what the company believes, what the agency believes, and you can really dial those in. So you can look at different ad formats that you're evaluating. You can make a decision on what's a winner and a loser based on 3 different metrics. You can also do that based on different levels of statistical significance. That's under advanced settings. And then there's even much more advanced settings like how many impressions we need to look at, what's the allowed deviation between impressions. So a lot of dials to play with. But the point of a one-click optimization is that we try to make a good suggestion up front. So if you took our suggestion and just literally one-click applied it, it should do good things for your account. But because we know that most people, at least the advanced PPC people, have their own methodology they want to do, we give you those dials, and then you can do it your way. Now, this is really important. This is one of those team features that I do want to point out. We can actually save the settings that you have. So rather than you having to come to this page and repetitively setting this to a different confidence level, for example, if you know that part of your weekly process is to do the A/B testing for ads, but with your own setting, you can put that under account workouts. And now an account workout, this is simply a workflow layer that sits on top of one-click optimizations. And you can see we give all of our accounts 4 default workouts. So these are ones that Optmyzr has set up. So you can try that very quickly. And if you click on it, it tells you exactly what tasks you would be doing throughout each of these. But the coolest thing, the most powerful one here is with the custom workout. So as an agency, as a team, you come in here, you set a new workout that you're going to make. And as part of that workout, for example, you could say we're going to do A/B testing for ads, which is the optimization I just showed you. And here is where you specify that you want to work with different default settings. Okay, so you set whatever you want to do, and then you can save that as your own workflow. And now it's nice because one of your other people, one of the people working on your team, can now simply come into the workout, and let me show you how it works. So they would just hit the start button. We'll start this over from the beginning. But now it loads up each of these steps, these optimizations that is part of the workflow with all the correct filters based on what you defined should be done. It removes all of the top navigation, so it's also much simpler for the user, your employees, so they don't have to figure out, oh, what tool am I supposed to run, in which order. It literally just puts it on a sequence right here. And as they apply the changes from this change, or from this optimization, it automatically jumps them into the next optimization. So it really takes them through exactly how you want the accounts to be managed. So, so that's what that workout is all about. So let me get back out of these workouts. And actually, before I wrap up on workouts, a nice manager feature excuse me, is that you do have the history here. So you can actually see who ran which workouts. And this is now for this particular account, and you can see how many changes were made or how many were considered. So if you wanted to see the changes that my colleague Gitanjali made, you can come into this, and you can see that she went through 3 tasks but actually made no changes. Now, if changes had been made, there would actually be a list of the changes next to each of these optimizations. It's a really nice way for you to stay on top of what kind of work the team is doing. And you can also change this to look at all accounts, different accounts, or you can see specific workouts. So if you have a weekly workout that you've defined, you could see specifically for which accounts that has recently been run. So all of that is pretty nice for teams. The other thing I want to show is in terms of one-click optimizations, now that everybody has their own team login, they can also save their own strategy. So you can either save a personal strategy or you can save a team strategy. So once again, by default, Optmyzr is going to make a suggestion that we think is a really good one. But if you want to go a little bit beyond that, you can take some additional filters. Okay, and so if, for example, we were suggesting some new keywords to add, but you said we really never want to do it unless it has at least 3 conversions, well, you set that in here and then you can save it either just for your personal login or so it's accessible and visible by the whole team. So you choose between these 2. So that's how that works. And then the other thing, as far as the team logins, every login, so every user, we will remember their preferred filter on these pages. So if the last time I came into this tool, I was looking at the CTR or conversion methodology, the next time I load it up, it's going to be back loading with those same suggestions or with the same methodology, but the suggestions will be different, of course, because the data will have changed by the next time you come back. So that's another benefit of having every member on the team have their own login. Also, as far as workflow, kind of managing how people do this, but there is an optimizations inbox, and the optimizations inbox really points out which optimizations might be available with a high number of suggestions for each of the accounts that you manage. Here I happen to be looking at the start accounts. And the start accounts, these are another team feature, so everybody on the team can start the accounts that they like to work on a lot. And then by looking at the start account view, if you have a lot of accounts under management, that kind of focuses your people on the accounts that actually matter to them, and they don't have to look through 100 accounts that they don't touch because other account managers might be working on those. So, and then again, in the inbox here, you can say look at just my start accounts, which are my personal favorites, or look at everything across the board. So as a manager, you might want to uncheck this and see all of the accounts. So that's how that works. And then as far as you staying on top of what optimizations the team has done, there is also an optimization history. So just like we have a workout history, we have an optimization history here, and you can see which colleague at what time made which changes, and you can also do a download of those changes. So that's one-click optimization. Now reporting is really nice because it allows you to do automated scheduled reporting. And so reporting is predominantly done by our clients for telling their clients how the performance of the agency is. Now there is one other thing you can do. So within these reports, you can make new templates. So I'm just going to call it demo 3 right here. And within these reports, you have widgets available. And one of the widgets is to do with activity. Okay. So you have under tables, the optimization history widget. This is not generally something I would share with an external client, but it's really useful for managers because you can see for each account how many analyses have your team run, and also how many optimizations have they applied through the Optmyzr tool. So you could check all of these boxes here, and then I'll just give you a quick preview of this one widget. But now you can see how much data was analyzed for this account, and then of course you can do that based on a different date range. So here we're looking at last 30 days of data, but if I wanted to make this an internal weekly report just for me to make sure my people were actually working on these accounts, I would set this to 7 days, and maybe then I'd have one for the last month. I can add more date ranges too. I can even add more campaign selectors. Okay, so now I've set up a few of these things. So now I can say for the last 7 days, what were the number of analyses that were done. By the way, we have a lot of drag and drop in the interface. If you want to reorder the sequence of how you see the data, you can just do it like that. And then from here, just save that report. It'll show up now in your templates. And what's nice too is you make one template, but that one template will actually work across all of the accounts that you manage. The way that works is you see all of the templates across the whole Optmyzr account right here. But if you particularly like this report for the account that we're looking at, you simply star it, and then it'll always show up at the top of the list. And that kind of helps you focus on the right reports. So that's a really nice thing for team managers to do as well. And then the final part of the interface is enhanced scripts. So the enhanced scripts, these are automations that can run by themselves as often as once per hour, and they are generally used to automate tasks that don't have a lot of decision around them. So there's very simple yes/no decisions typically. So for example, is my landing page working? Yes or no. If my landing page is not working, then I usually just want to email someone to tell them about that error, or I want to automatically take action and pause it. Or you have methodologies like for budgets. So you can come here and bid in budgets, and you can say, for example, automatically pause a whole account when things spend too much. So these are pieces of JavaScript that we generate for you. It's very easy to set up. There's no coding required. So you just go through a form like this. In this example, we say the account has a $100,000 monthly budget. We'll automatically pause if it exceeds, and we'll automatically bring it back at the beginning of the month once anything that was paused in the last month. So you save that, we give you a small piece of code, you install that into your AdWords script section in the AdWords account. You then schedule it once a day, once an hour. We usually make a recommendation here, so this one we recommend runs every hour. And then at that point, it just starts asking Optmyzr, hey, Optmyzr, what am I supposed to do when that script runs? And Optmyzr says, well, here are the budgets you're supposed to make sure we're not exceeding for this particular account. And so, of course, it would only look at the active settings. Here I have a bunch of paused ones. So that's enhanced scripts. Okay, now, a lot of work can obviously be done through the tool by your team. So a great way to stay on top of that as a manager is to take a look at the activity dashboard. So with the activity dashboard, this is available recently across all account types. But by default, it will load up and it will tell you how you're doing. So are you an active user of the system? Let me point out a few things. So for each of the areas of the tools that I've just explained, data insights and one-click optimizations and reports, it shows you how much activity there has been. So that's interesting in terms of me knowing that over the date range here being last 30 days, but over the last 30 days, I have looked at 22 data insights. The period before that, I only looked at 13 data insights. It also tells me that I've only covered 4 of the 8 available tools for data insights. So I might want to do a download here to get more information about which tools I'm missing out on. And I can also click on here, and it's going to tell me some of the tools that I haven't been spending a lot of time in. So these are ones that I might want to add to my personal repertoire of what I check. Now, same thing with one-click optimizations, the ones that I've viewed, and then the ones where I've applied changes. It shows you month-over-month change and how many tools were covered. And then another important one, so me as an account manager, I've covered 8 out of 31 accounts. Now that may be correct because maybe I only manage 8 of these, but if I'm a single consultant, then I probably want to see that number much higher so that I've covered all of my accounts in the past month. And then if you wanted to understand what days of the week is the team active, or is a certain person active, this shows you exactly that. So you can see that the last day of November, I did not log into Optmyzr. Same thing on New Year's Eve, I did not log into Optmyzr. But generally, all of the other days, the team has been logging into the system. By the way, this is the team activity heat map. So then as far as knowing who are the top users on your team, you can switch this view to the whole team. And then you can see a list here of your top users. And then you can also see across the team how many accounts have been touched. Okay, so and this is really important now because, again, across the whole team, you would expect all the accounts that you manage to have been touched over the course of a month. And this is exactly what that goes ahead and shows you. So only 18 out of the 31 of our demo accounts were touched in this last 30 days. So this is a good report, can be quite useful for managers. And obviously, we love the feedback. So if you have any feedback, ways we can make this better, more useful, please do tell us. That's why we're here. We want to be a great partner for your team, give them all the tools and optimizations to make them more efficient, make your business more successful. So that's an overview of Optmyzr for team managers. So I'll wrap it up here. I know everybody's very busy, so let everybody get back to their busy days. And there you see mine. But I also want to leave you here with the email address, so support@optmyzr.com. If you want to follow up one-on-one, I'm very happy to do that. So just shoot us an email. And if there are any questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here. And have a great rest of your Wednesdays.